My name is Dennis Cheatham, and today I'm going to be showing you some of the techniques that I use with Adobe Illustrator to do the auto tracing of artwork. No matter if we're designing for cutting vinyl or a rhinestone template or even a business card, at some point in time we're going to need artwork that is in vector format and not raster format. Now from out here, from far away, those graphics don't look so bad. It's when you come in here that you can tell the difference between the raster image and the vector image. If we select the raster image, you can tell we have a bounding box. The vector image, once traced, you can tell we have nodes that control our curves. The reason why we use vector artwork is because when we scale the artwork up, as you can tell, our vector artwork remains clean and our raster image still becomes pixelated. So when we're choosing what we're going to trace, we need to make sure that we have the best quality image possible. As you can tell, this original tracing here was done at 1 inch at 72 dpi. So when we click on it and go to the actual live trace button in our header here and push live trace, you can see, we'll zoom in here, you can see we get more of an abstract from the raster to the vector. It didn't copy very well. It didn't even do the square very well right here. So let's back out here and just use our auto trace function on these two. This is a 2-inch graphic at 150 dpi, and you can see it changed a little bit. This is a 2-inch graphic at 300 dpi. And don't let the numbers scare you. Basically the rule of thumb is the larger the graphic you can trace, the better your tracing is going to be. As you can see, there's slight differences between the two graphics, between 150 and 300 dpi. But just remember the rule, the larger the graphic, the better the trace. Okay, so let's talk about actually tracing in Adobe Illustrator. Once we select our graphic, and there's a button here that says Live Trace, that's what we used here a second ago. Then there's a bunch of presets, and we're going to trace a little bit of our graphic here in each of the presets to let you see how that interacts. So let's zoom in on the first three here. And you can see the pixelation of our graphic at this resolution. So if we use the default setting, you can see how it looks. Simple Trace is one I use to begin with to look at everything, and it removes the background. Hand-drawn sketch did not turn out exactly how we thought it would. Detailed illustration, again, removes the background but does not copy the points. So far our best one is Simple Trace. Comic art, technical drawing, black and white logo, one color logo, and ink drawing. So there we have each of the presets that would deal with black and white. artwork. And to me, the simple trace and the one color logo seem to do the best of recreating part of our image. My legal counsel has informed me that I need you to read the following statement. So take a minute and read it. Basically, respect other people's work, obey copyright laws. That being said, let's move on. So let's go over a couple other things. Here we have two cartoon hands, one in a PNG format, which has a transparency so you can see through the graphic, and this one is a JPEG format. Now, if we take this, and like I said, I always start out with simple trace. I like that. We could look at some others if we wanted to come up to our toolbar again. Let's look at the one color logo. Well, that added a little more weight here across this middle finger. I like that. Now, at this point in time, it's still not a vector. You can still change what you want to trace with it. Go back to one color logo. You can adjust the threshold. You can play with all these numbers. You can even look at the original image. We'll show you the raster in the background. You can see the tracing result. Well, there we go, outlines. And so the outlines is what the tracing result is, and you can compare that to the raster image in the background. But until you hit the expand button, it's not a vector graphic. So I'm going to hit the expand button. Now, auto tracing is a destructive process. Our PNG is not back here anymore. So if you want to keep a copy of your image for reference, you want to move a copy away from what you're tracing, because if you go in and let's do the opposite side of the thumbs, one color logo, and that looks good how that is, but I want this as a reference, because the one that I traced disappears. So I can hit expand, and now I have vector curves. Now I have moved these away, and now I have total control over the nodes, just like you would with any vector graphic. Okay, now you saw that I was working with that color blue here, and we ended up with a black. That's because I selected one color logo. Now I could do some color options, even if in a photo option, and you can see the different results. Go back to color 6. Color 6 comes pretty close. But let me show you over here in our flag of Texas. Let's say we wanted to trace this and retain the color information. If we go and do our simple trace, it's going to automatically kick it to black and white. If we look at our outlines, we basically have two sections, where if we turn on our original image, you can see we had 3 sections. So that trace is not going to work for us. So let's go back to no image and tracing result, and let's change that to the color 6. Now it looks like it went back to the original image. Let's look at our tracing results, outlines. Now you can see we do have 3 separate sections, and if we hit expand and then ungroup, you can see we can remove the white from around the outline, and then because that red outline is part of that graphic, it moved with it. But then we can take and pull these apart. If we were going to be cutting vinyl, you can see there's a little bit of cleanup that would have to be done. But for the most for the most part, using the simple color 6 will get you the result that you want. Now those are the default settings of the tracing. Now part of my regular job is I create barcodes. Now this is a barcode that is a JPEG graphic. It's all together, and at some point in time I need a vector so that I can manipulate the sizes. And one thing about barcodes is you have to be so specific. So if you go to tracing options here and you can preview, you can see how these lines are not straight, and this is the default setting, and that's undesirable for the barcode. The barcodes, they need to be totally straight. So I have already preset a barcode setting that matches what I need, so those barcodes come out perfectly. So if I hit trace now and then expand, and then delete the white box, you can see those lines are perfectly straight. And again, a little bit of cleanup would be required, but I've got the majority of the barcode in vector format. Now here's an example that someone has brought us something that they want a rhinestone template cut out of. They've hand-drawn circles or copied an image. If we traced it just like it is, let's do the one color logo trace again. You can see a couple things. First off, the circles did not trace exactly as circles, and that's not a problem. The problem comes into is that if we grab our ellipse tool and reach over here and just make a reference 3.4 millimeter 3.4 millimeter ellipse, that's the size of an SS10 stone. So these stones are way too big for what we want to do. So we need to size the graphic down, and we can do that before we expand it. So if we just kind of eyeball it and say still just a little big, alright, that looks pretty good. So I'm going to delete that stone, and we still, everything is still a graphic, and we can see what our outlines are going to be over what the original image was, and you can see the distortion. I'm going to go ahead and hit expand, and that's going to give those. Now those, once it comes out of mode, out of the tracing mode, they are grouped together. Well, I want to break that group by going Object Ungroup, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to select everything that is going to be an SS10 stone. Three more there. Alright, then I'm going to go Effect, Convert to Shape, and Ellipse. And then I'm going to change that to an absolute size of the 3.44 millimeter, the 3.4 millimeter, and click OK. Now what we have is we have perfectly round 3.4 millimeter holes for your rhinestone template. But as you can see, the curve is out here. Again, until you redo shape. Until you expand appearance, it's going to remain that way. Once you expand the appearance, then it's going to be a single 3.4 millimeter dot. So let's grab what would be the SS16 stones, and let's go ahead and effect, convert to shape, ellipse, and go 4.4 millimeter. And you would use whatever size that you're used to using for your cutter. As you can see, those circles from the original design were way larger. You could probably get away with using a larger stone if you wanted to for your design. For this purpose, I'm just going to leave it at this and expand appearance. And there you have it, a nice clean crown to go to your cutter. A couple of things that you might want to consider is that if you have a graphic that has two different types, see we have a nice clean black and white lettering and a color, you might want to trace it twice. So if we ungroup those, grab this one and do the tracing as a black and white logo, let's go ahead and try one color logo. And I like that better. So let's click expand, and then let's get rid of, and so here we have the lettering that was traced. So let's select this one, and then let's do our color 6. Okay, so now if you look here, the color 6 made it really kind of abstract. If we want to look at the outlines, you can see the different paths over the original. Okay, let's go back to tracing result, turn the original off, and here we've got max colors. So I'm going to drop that max colors down, and as it goes down, you can see the design changing. 2 color is basically always black and white, but if we go to 3 color and click expand, we can take the lettering out, select our pig, put him in and behind here, and then that gives us total control over the logo. We have control over the lettering and then control over the color version. You can also do this with reverse images. If we go through here and do color 6 and then again drop our colors down to 2, it's going to give us red and white. Click expand there, and now I don't have everything there, but you'll get the picture. I can drop this down so you can see what I removed, and then if I wanted to, I could change the color of the Razorback, and you can see that again a few things didn't come through, but you don't have to just work with black and white images to get black and white graphics. So as you saw, 2 Arkansas Razorbacks, and remembering our lesson, the better size graphic you have, the better tracing result you're going to get. This is an 18-inch Arkansas Razorback, and if we select that and go to our color 6 tracing, you can see it looks almost like the original. If you go to the outlines, you can see it still is kind of a mess. So I'm going to go ahead and go back and reduce our colors down. get to 3 colors, then look at our outlines, and you can tell that's a much cleaner trace. Hit expand, ungroup, then you can, whoops, there we go, ungroup, and then you can separate it out. Again, some cleanup would have to be done, but for the most part that's ready to go to your cutter. So that's some of the auto tracing techniques that I use in Adobe Illustrator. I hope you learned something. Please ask questions if you have those. Make comments. I appreciate you taking your time to watch. Thank you.